And now, officially, Agatha raising PI.
Champagne, everyone, it's launch time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Olivia Witherspoon is dead.
The key to the mystery is in that house.
Ivy Hall. Unexplained paranormal activity on a grand scale.
What's next? Vampires? Zombies? Little green men in flying saucers?
Stay close. Perfectly safe with me.
Hi there, my name's James Wren. I'm the festival producer for Unrestricted View Horror Film Festival, which this year had to go online because of COVID-19. But we're not stopping meeting the filmmakers. We don't want to do that. And I'm joined today all the way from Illinois, the fantastic David Tolchinsky, whose fantastic film Cassandra is in the festival. I love Cassandra. But first of all, David, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a filmmaker and screenwriter. I'm also a professor at Northwestern University and run our screenwriting and playwriting program. So that's me. So,
fantastic. How long have you been doing that?
Since the late 90s. So,
wow.
You know, been a screenwriter since the late 90s and being a professor. So kind of juggling both.
Yeah, yeah. And how is that, juggling both? Because, I mean, I suppose sometimes you've got to, as I think, if you're teaching it as well, it's kind of, come on, teacher, prove it.
Yeah, I mean, it's both, you know, when it works well together, you're teaching and you're inspired by your students and they're giving you ideas and you're talking about your career and what's going on with you, and that's fun for them. When it doesn't work well, there's too much teaching, not enough writing, or too much writing, not enough teaching, but it's a fun gig. It's really a great place.
That's good. It's good, especially when you can find the balance. Yeah. So, I mean, how is filmmaking, because obviously over here, I mean, the world's got COVID, you know, so, I mean, in where you are, how is that affecting sort of independent film?
Oh, man, you know, Chicago is a center of filmmaking. Everything got shut down. We have a lot of TV shows, but things are slowly opening back up. And at Northwestern, all our students' productions were stopped, but now there's all these kind of guidelines for safety, and I think people are slowly starting to film. I just became attached as a producer to a Zoom horror film. So again, people Zooming. And so you see a lot of that kind of stuff where what can we do from our home? I'm producing my spouse's documentary and we are going out to film, but we're filming outside. We're using masks. So it's happening, but it's been slow. And a lot of my friends who are kind of gig workers, you know, who work as DPs or gaffers, it's been horrible. So let's hope this is resolves in the next couple months or years.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
How about you? How are things over there?
Well, it sounds much the same, actually. You know, I think it's you know, and people are doing their best to be creative and trying to find ways around this. And how can we, like you're saying, the Zoom films, you know, people trying to sort of go, well, how do we tell our stories then? You know, we're not allowed to do it this way, so let's try and do it this way. But I think, you know, collectively, everyone is very much missing the old days and just get out there.
Well, even down to like, you know, my spouse and I are going out for this shoot for her film, and like normally you'd shoot and then you'd all have dinner together and it would be like hanging out. Now we're like taking separate cars and like going back to our hotel room. It's just depressing, but you know, the films I hope will still be good. It's just the process is not as fun.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. So, tell me, where did Cassandra come from? What was the genesis of this idea?
It had a long journey. I read an article in the New Yorker about psychiatrists in Chicago who thought they had recovered memories of abuse in patients, and then slowly it became clear that some of these psychiatrists had actually made this up. Others mistakenly were suggesting the memories, and then I started thinking about, well, okay, here's a bunch of psychiatrists who are lost their careers, were afraid of being arrested, but what if one of them had actually recovered actual abuse but was afraid of saying it because now this movement had been debunked? So that was kind of floating around in my mind. And then I was thinking about a lot of Greek mythology, like Cassandra was a half goddess who predicted the future, but no one would listen to her. And that made me think about abuse, that what does it mean to have knowledge and not be listened to? So I kind of was rolling these two things around, and then I came up with this story about a serial killer who draws the location of her next murder, and that for me that was kind of a parallel to Cassandra, who was predicting the future and wanted to be discovered, and this led to a policewoman tracking this to a house that turned out to be owned by one of these psychiatrists, and the question is it one of his patients that could be this killer? And then so the movie takes place in the house, but the setup is also that the policewoman can't remember what happened in the house. So I'm kind of playing with, who knows what, and what's the present, what's the past, what's the future.
Yeah, no, and there was actually, before I say that, is this an idea for a feature as well? It feels like it's got legs. It feels like
yes. It actually, there was an early draft of the feature that actually turned into a short, but with the idea that this would always be an advertisement for the future, and that I'm working on right now. I have a new version of the script that came out of developing this short, and I'm really excited to get that off the ground.
Yeah, no, it definitely. When I was watching, I was thinking, there's a lot more here. There is. You want to know more. It feels like you've only just been given a tiny snippet of the world. And
that's what's cool about the film, but also problematic. Cool that it makes people thinking what actually happened, what was going on, but it's a little bit too big for a short. But that's okay. I want people to be wanting more. So we'll hopefully get the feature off the ground.
That was great. Also, one of the things I loved about it was that which will bring me on to my next question, but it was so beautifully shot. I thought the cinematography on it was fantastic, and also the sound mix, because it really felt like that was another character in it. They're all around them the whole time. They're reacting to this, and at the same time, so are we. We've got this sort of build up of tension, and so I was wondering, is this a team that you've worked with before, or was that?
I was just so lucky. Rob Stern was recommended to me actually by Joel McGinty as the DP on my wife's documentary.
Right.
He said, "Oh, you're doing horror. You should hook up with this guy." And he's absolutely fantastic. He works with his spouse Sarah Sharp, who did all the effects, which I thought worked really well. And he put the whole crew together. But the sound mix is me. My early training before screenwriting was in sound and music. And it was really great just to be able to get back into the sound and music. And that was a whole. We did the film. Edited for a year, and then me for 6 months just doing the sound and music. So thank you for appreciating that, because yes, it was very important to me to make.
But not at all. I thought it was fun. It was another character. It was the elephant in the room, wasn't it? It was that thing of what can they see, what is happening, and that was all told through the sound, which was fun.
But I had a sound mixer, Alex Inglesian. I mean, my sound was like wall to wall, and he's like, you have to have silences, and he really kind of brought out the silences, which made the sound even more effective. And Rob, this is a whole philosophical thing about making shorts. For some people, making shorts, get them out there, make several shorts a year. For me, Cassandra was this thing that I had been thinking about for years, and we spent the money and time on this farm and really had time to light it. And Rob is a genius, so it was
it was great. It was it was a cut above. It was fantastic. Well done. So going forward with Cassandra, as you say, you got a feature sort of script in the works, or So, I mean, are you thinking of, obviously filming at the moment is a bit up in the air, but I mean, is that something you're thinking of doing like next year, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have the script. I have the feature version is actually a detective and the policewoman together working on this, and so there's kind of an interesting relationship between them, and it's from kind of the stuff that's referred to in the short where they go to house and find these bodies you actually see, and it becomes who are we actually searching? Are we searching for ourselves? Is kind of the idea. And so I mean, right now the film is with Alter, which I don't know if you're this online horror thing, and they have it in development through November, so we'll see if we can get it off the ground with them. If not, I'll do it with a different company.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. That's great news. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, me too.
All right, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions
Mhm.
that we like to ask everyone. Just there's sort of questions that are impossible to answer in a way. Um, who is your all-time favorite film director?
Oh, I can't answer that. Uh, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Okay, this is my answer. Maybe David Lynch, because I think he's, and David, don't be insulted, but because he's incompetent, that he tries to tell a thriller and doesn't quite know how to tell the plot, so it just comes out so interesting. So I'm really intrigued by using your failures as your strengths. So Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive are on my top list because you have kind of like Cassandra, you have to think about them. You're not sure what the story is, and you kind of interpret it in different ways. But there's so many directors. I love Villanove's tone. I love and the stuff he's doing. So. I've been talking to Jennifer Reeder here in Chicago, and her work is interesting. So that's my answer.
It's good, yeah. I think no one, I think has ever has gone this director.
Right. I mean, it depends on the day. It depends on my mood. It's
absolutely, isn't it? It's like, what's your favorite song? I don't know, what mood am I in? Yeah, exactly. Okay, do you have a favorite horror film?
I don't, but I could talk a couple of them, like this Cassandra. When I was talking to Rob about what I wanted it to look like, I showed him the beginning credits sequence to Ginger Snaps, where in that movie, these two teen women try to make themselves up as if they've killed themselves in different ways. I just thought the visuals and the music together were absolutely beautiful. So that film, I think, was meaningful. The Ring, I think, is still really scary. And, I was out camping with my spouse and I heard this sound, like, what is that sound? It turns out it was frogs. And I'm like, why does that sound familiar? And I think the soundtrack to The Ring was frogs. And that was like, this is terrifying. So yeah. I thought that was great. Ju-on, I thought was like, I couldn't understand it. So it gave me nightmares, and that's another kind of film where you're not that scared, but then your brain's kind of working on it. And
trying to figure it out afterwards.
Yeah. So those are kind of the top of my.
Oh, brilliant! And now I think Halloween is a much bigger event your side of the pond than it is here. But
yeah.
So do you have plans? What do you tend to do for Halloween?
I don't have plans. I have a bear outfit I might wear for my students. So, it's more just like in my office at work, which I haven't been to in months, I have kind of a scary latex baby. I like to, just bring out kind of objects. I might wear a mask, and then it's the films that I show are really, because I'm teaching this quarter, so that's really fun just to show things. Like there's a Key and Peele. Do you all know Key and Peele, which is a great comedy show, and they have this wonderful episode where they pretend to be the guys from Saw, kind of like tied up with their legs cut off, and they're just joking like, oh, this isn't so bad. and they're talking to the guy who's sawing him off, like, he really believes in his work. So we'll usually view something like that. So.
Oh, fantastic. And so aside of Cassandra, are you working on any other projects at the moment?
Yeah, well, as I was saying, I'm producing my spouse's documentary, which is about wrongful conviction. I'm working on Cassandra, the feature, and I have a TV series about Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich was supposed to be Freud's successor, and then he either went psychotic or he came up with this idea about orgone energy. And in my TV series, the idea is like, what if he was developing some kind of technology about time travel or something that was threatening? So you kind of track a professor in the present day who's kind of discovering Reich, and then you track Reich in the past, and then the two of them actually meet in my series because of the ability to collude time. So I love movies that kind of collude time periods. I loved Watchmen, and where you're kind of tracking different periods, and then what if these periods could get together? So I'm trying to get that off the ground too.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you today, David.
Yeah,
Thank you.
lovely. Yes, and thank you for having the film in the festival.
Not at all. No, it was a no-brainer for us. And you can see Cassandra on Thursday, the 29th of October. It's part of a collection of shorts called Little Terrors 4. And you can get tickets via our website at unrestrictedview.co.uk. Thanks again, David. Hopefully in the future we can meet properly.
Yes, yes.
Have a beer.
Yes, thank you, and thanks to your audience for watching Cassandra.
Thank you. All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye-bye.